So today's topic, right? The topic you had before this is about favors, right? This is quite similar, but very close to my heart, right? I'm known as a difficult professor. Is it important to be easy to work with?
Not necessary.
Difficult professor for the students?
For the student as well as for my colleagues. Right? I mean, I call out, right? If they want to get a paper through me, they'll have to work harder. And if they have a course structure which is, I think is not good, I call it out. So I'm called a difficult person. So is it bad to be difficult? Is it good to be easy to work with? So let's have your thoughts on it first, and then we can delve deeper into it.
So I feel being difficult itself is not good or bad, especially if it's with the right intention,
Right.
right? And I think the intention behind being difficult, if that is known to the other side, then I don't think it gets viewed, very negatively. So I think it's just not whether you are difficult or not. It is the reason or the intent and the context that usually is a lot more important than just being.
So if I may just translate, right? What he says, being difficult is bad, but if the person knows it, it's not as bad. if they know the intent behind it, it's not as bad. So being difficult is not good.
So I'll add some context to here. So being difficult may not be necessarily bad, but being annoying is really bad. So if you are being difficult with a purpose, then it's good actually. And if you are very easy to work with, not necessarily you are good. You are probably, you are somebody who silently fixes everything, and thereby you are robbing the chance for the organization or a company to fix a problem. So by being easy, you are actually harming, disturbing the entire ecosystem. So it depends on the context. What is there with it? Just the tag alone difficult doesn't mean you are being difficult to improve the entire process or organization. That's a good thing actually. You should be congratulated that you are called as a difficult person.
Oh, no, carry on, please. Sorry. So my 2 cents. I think it's very relative topic because it's purely comes from the work that you do. Now, certain functions requires you to be more flexible, more agile, more collaborative. Being uptight or difficult makes it very difficult for people to approach you, right? Because either it's a perspective or it's a fact, either ways. So coming back, it's more depending on which area or space. Maybe for your position that you hold in the university, it's important because you're the one who's the decision maker, right? Decision makers having to be difficult, understandable. But anyone below them having to be difficult to work with could add more chaos and problem to the function, is what I feel.
So you had.
I think what you mentioned as difficult it all depends on the culture. If the culture is open, and then what you mentioned is actually okay, pointing out certain things which are not working or not acceptable, those are actually right things. If the culture is not right where it is open to talk about it, then it's easy to get along. Let's hide things behind, then it becomes difficult. So if the culture allows you to talk about the challenges, then I think what you mentioned as difficult is actually not difficult. It's open culture. I think that's very important aspect. So the easy to work with or whatever, I think it also depends a lot on the culture of the company to really think about, okay, whatever you at least introduced as, I don't think that's difficult. That's, if a culture puts that as difficult, then I think the culture needs a fix probably.
I think it's very important to be easy to work with, especially when it's amongst your peers. Your peers, it can't be difficult to work with. If it's your boss or if it's somebody who's leading the function or the CEO, it's always known, and in our culture also, it's always known that they are difficult to get us to become better or make us think differently, look at innovative ways to do things, and not carry our past experiences into this. But for peers, I think it's extremely important to be easy to work with when you are in the scheme of things. Is what I think.
I completely echo her opinion as well. To me, it's very important to be, somebody who is easy to work with, and I also work with people who are easy to work with. There is a reason for that. All of us are having our own personal as well as professional hustles, right? So, being difficult to anybody doesn't help, so much. Yes. At the same time, there are boundaries, right? The moment it starts impacting you negatively, that is where you draw a line. But, sometimes, being difficult to work with is often, kind of people who are absolutely, no filter kind of people. They just call the spade a spade. That's okay to do. But I think in the cultures and in the new generation workforce that we are working with, we need to be mindful of the psychological safety and, how do we create an environment where everyone is respected and easy to work with.
So I wanted to share something from my own experience because I worked with someone in the same context that you mentioned. So in my experience, it's been a fine line between being firm versus being disrespectful. So our experiences have been the former, that we are being firm, and it has a rub off on me. So when I manage my teams, I've kind of been following very consciously that. I think the point he made is very relevant. There is a significant difference between the way how Gen Zs have been like responding to situations when a supervisor has been being firm versus a generation before response. What we have seen is that being firm is certainly good. It is, as most of us understand, it is about not just about what you want to say, it's about how you say it. I think when that how you say it is right, for different generations of people or colleagues that we have in the organization, they understand it, they get it. So, and as he mentioned, they get the purpose part of it. Once that is understood, they know that yes, the firmness comes out of a purpose, and it is purely about delivery or purely about a specific intended outcome in a specific timeline. So there is a way to get it right. We've seen that in our experience.
And I would say that difficult is a very difficult word to understand in this context, because difficult has in the perspective of telling somebody is a difficult personality, it always has a negative connotation. It's rarely positive. Okay, so I would say that on the balance, it's not a good thing to be difficult. There is an organizational context also. For example, he is with Apollo. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned it. Sure. Okay, okay. If he has a very difficult doctor, that's part of the game, because he is the specialist in that field. You can't help it. I mean, he's the way he is. So what I'm saying is there are individual performers. So it depends on the business. The individual performers. There's some guy who's a top scientist. They will likely to be very difficult to work with. But that's part of his personality, and the output which he generates more than makes up for that. But in general, as a management style, I would argue, especially like one of you mentioned, Gen Z, it's not a great idea to be difficult.